Hello, hello. Bueno, let's start with acknowledging one thing because a lot of my followers are Spanish speakers. Entonces, vamos a hablar un poco en español brevemente para que os pueda decir un poco lo que está pasando hoy. Primero, buenos días. Hello to everyone. O buenas tardes. Uh, okay, so first in Spanish and then I'll come back to English. Bueno, primero que quiero agradeceros para el apoyo del canal, que está creciendo poco a poco. Ahora mismo lo que os quiero decir es que estoy como empezando con una presentación de este libro que he escrito durante un año en inglés, porque lo he hecho en inglés, pero estoy trabajando sobre la versión española, ¿vale? En castellano. Así que hoy vamos a tocarlo en inglés, ¿vale? Todo va a estar en inglés y probablemente que los streams en general del libro, por el momento, van a ser también en inglés. Desde el momento que llego a terminar la versión española, y de vez en cuando creo que haré igualmente con manuscrito en español que está, bueno, a un tercio hecho. Haré algunos streams también en español, pero como la versión ahora en inglés está terminada, vamos a hacerlo en inglés hoy. Así que, bueno, puede ser también una forma para vosotros de quizás escuchar en inglés pues de lo que vamos a hablar hoy. Igual si queréis como pedir cosas o traducciones, etcétera, puedo hablarlo en español para que todos podamos como participar. Y nada, gracias por venir. Y ahora voy a seguir en inglés para el objetivo de hoy, que es un stream en inglés. Ahora voy a echar un vistazo sobre el sonido porque acabo de cambiar un poco los parámetros. Realmente hago streams de videojuegos y eso es muy nuevo para mí. Intenté como hacer algo un poco rápidamente, bueno, un poco listo así que vamos a ver. Bueno, ahora en inglés. Well, hello everyone. Today, um, vale, estoy escuchando el sonido por eso. Estoy viendo un poco. ¿Qué pasa? Vale. Okay, I think the sound is a bit weird. If you can change anything. Let's see. Hmm. Let me change some settings. Mhm. I don't know if it's the correct mic. Uh, mhm. I want to be sure that I'm using the correct mic, but for now I am not. All right, let's see. Okay, sound. Let's see the parameters. I'm going to take the mic and see if the sound is the same and get away from the from the computer. Ha 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 ha. Ooh, 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 ooh. Oh, or maybe. No, I think it might be my my headphone that is taking the mic function. Let's see now. Hey. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. Ooh, now the sound is way better. Hey. Hello and welcome to this new stream. Very good. Now I know what settings I should use for the future. Yeah, perfect. I'm happy. Okay, now I was looking at myself. Yeah, I know, not good, but just to listen to how things were going. Now I'm fine with it. All right. So, first of all, welcome. That is my first stream talking about the Spiral book. I did talk about it yesterday in Spanish for I just couldn't stop. I've been working on this for a long time. And I must say that it's a weird process to be writing, especially with the age of AI and all the I would say the contradictions that can arise between okay, what is creativity now, what's to do with AI. Can creativity can be possible with AI, or is it like the opposite of it? What does it mean when you are a small creator and you use AI versus what you use when you are a big company? I have been like getting back and forth and watching the the public discourse around these things. I love video games, as you may know if you watch this stream. Or if you've seen my content in Spanish, but it has always been like very complicated to position myself, because from a very young age I've been interested with AI, robots, and so on, and for better and for worse, because I know it's not an easy topic, but I was there is part of me that was like, okay, that's a dream coming true, you know, to see like artificial intelligence and so on, as I was always a fan as a kid of all of this. So yeah, I understand the position of traditional artists or non-AI artists, but whenever I was going to, you know, this kind of places where you had this this discourse or this speech with
pro AI. There were some places like this, like there is something called the Madrid Lab, Innovation Lab, and it was all about AI and how AI can enter businesses and so on. And I felt like that's not really me. That's not what I want. That's not what I care about. I don't really care. I don't care about the. I mean, of course, it's interesting and philosophically and so on. I am interested by this kind of of thought process and how things. I mean, AI as a tool, right? But on the other hand, what I was really interested about was more this kind of shift that I call almost like a Copernican revolution. So Copernican revolution, what it is, it's like a revolution in culture, in the mind, that almost like reshape the way we think about the world, our place in it, and AI is a lot about about this, about how we feel that there is like some social structure, economical structure that are crumbling beyond things that were already crumbling before the arrival of AI, and now it's starting to accelerate, but as well politically, socially, there are a lot of things that are moving and changing. And in a way, it reminds me of the Industrial Revolution, about how things are shifting, and there is like this time of what is romanticism, which is like this kind of moment where emotions start to take control of grief, of a time that is no longer here, and the difficulty to grasp about what is awaiting us. And well, shit happened as well for me, of course. In my personal life, many things happened that made so that I accumulated influences. I watched a lot of content online about political stuff, scientific stuff, technological stuff. But what I felt was really lacking most of the time was, it's like AI cannot be alive. And when you boil it down, it's just because, it's not that there is like a true reason. It's just because it's impossible, it's unacceptable, and so on. But then, the more we spend time in our in our time period and so on, the more we find out that I think there is not so much that differentiate us from the past revolutions, the past change of culture, of knowledge, of philosophy, and so on. And there is Francis Fukuyama that spoke about the end of history after the collapse of the Berlin Wall, in 1991, which is the date where I am born. I'm born in 1991, and as if we had like reached a peak of history, of technology, and all would be solved in a way under American and capitalistic leadership. And in a way, I was thinking about it as well, like this, because I grew up like this, and I don't have answers, but as many people can see with the rise of China, counter models and so on, well, things are blurry, are much more blurry. So with the 9/11, terrorism, the difficulty to live together, questions about technology, the shift and the decay of some aspects of society, I was always interested about history and how populations in the past 2,000 years dealt with more or less similar things before. Doesn't mean that it's going to be the same, because each revolution is a revolution of its own time. But it means as well that we are in front of a shift. There is a word that's a proverb that say that a crisis is a transformation, but with another name, right? So we saw a lot of things like that, especially we had like this kind of trends that were there's the dog that's here. Of trends that speak about how what do you want? About how what do you want? Huh? What do you want? I'm busy. No, I'm busy. I'm busy. Eh? I'm busy. Yeah, but I'm busy. I'm busy. I'm talking about my book. Yeah, I know, but I'm busy. Oh, my computer is getting low on power. Hey, girls, I am busy. I'm talking about my book. It's important for me. Okay, later. So, all these questions were, how can I say this, swirling around in my mind with a lot of thought about what's going to happen, what did happen, and I was, for example, very interested about the Renaissance times, the Industrial Revolution, the Roman Empire, of course. And it was never like a shift that happens like this. It was always like a slow process, with several crises in a longer trend. And you know, that's what is very interesting, how fantasy and science fiction kind of fit into this. Because science fiction is not made to predict the future. Science fiction is made more to keep something, to take something, an idea, and to expand upon it and see where it leads in the future. So in a sense, science fiction is not really about the future, but it's like an extension of the present and the questions that arise from this question, you know? For example, if we take Star Wars speaks a lot about what does it mean to be confronted with fascism, you know? With this kind of weird mix between Nazis and the USSR, with the aesthetic, and of course this narrative that is clearly fantastic, with this kind of monk slash samurai order that are the Jedis, with the idea of the knight that is going to fight the Dark Lord to save a princess, helped by this magical force that is, well, the Force. And a very Manichaean way to see the world, like black and white, or evil and, I mean, good, evil and good, and so on. Very simplistic, right? And then we have other influences. We have things like Dune, that is more about how to be confronted with figures like messiahs and so on, right? The providential savior that appears and help save society and so on. With a lot of comparison with the religions of the book, so Islam, Christianism, and Judaism, with a lot of symbolism behind it. And you have a lot of narrative like this. Tolkien, that is as well very, very Christian in his way of describing the world, and the Valar and Iluvatar, the one god, but as well with this lost paradise vibe, with the elves that long for it, and actually shaped current fantasy right now, still today, in aesthetic and so on. Star Trek, that is like thinking about what is capitalism versus communism, a post-scarcity society where no one actually needs anything to survive, but there's still like strong ideological views that are fighting each other. What else can I speak about? Foundation is a big influence from me, with the characters that are not really like the main focus of the plot. It's much more about what it means to live in this kind of galaxy on a long time scale, and how to predict history with this idea of scientific perspective on the trends, and this focus on sociology, and well, some style of its time, where the way that he speaks about women and so on are difficult sometimes to read, but well, he say himself like it was not like he didn't have like a lot of experiences with women, but again, it was as well a book written in a series of books that was written between the 50s and I think the 80s, something like that. So different books, different time. Narnia Narnia that is very, very, uh, again, that is like almost a retelling of some Greco-Roman, Arthurian, and Christian perspective with Aslan that represent God, and a lot of things like that. And on the other hand, you have how do you name this one in English? Let me see, because I don't know. I read this one in French. It was the compass something something. The Golden Compass, I think it was. Let me check. Book from Philip Pullman. And okay. I thought it was only the name of the show, but it's as well His Dark Materials. That is completely atheist, with the death of God, literally, at some point. And so, this kind of, I read a lot of all of this, not really differentiating fantasy and science fiction, even if, of course, they brought something different in me. And then all of this started to merge together, building up on my personal experience of life, and of my family, of my parents, my brother, my relation with being queer or LGBT, the question of the end of the 20th and beginning of 21st century, what means consciousness, death, life, AI, living together, the way we treat each other, the way we treat animals, the way we may treat the machine as well, and the fear of how it mirrors us. I feel, for example, that with AI, there is a big effect that is almost... I always have this mirror on the wall. Who is the fairest of them all? Where there is this really idea of asking the AI to mirror us, but at the same time being afraid that it would do it, that it does, and as well afraid that it doesn't. We are asking basically to find something that is someone but is not someone, because then it would mean that we have to share the planet. We are scared as well that if AI is too similar than us, then it will become us. So we are scared of being replaced by ourselves. But if it's not us and it acts in a way that we don't understand it, we are scared that the planet is not replaced by us. So I like to say that the problem is not actually AI, but it's actually the ape. So a lot of different things that merge together, and during a time when I had like personal issues after the pandemic and the arrival of AI, I started to use ChatGPT as a help to structure my narrative. It was a time when I was like really listening, because I'm a big fan of audiobooks. I was listening to the interpretation of The Lord of the Rings by Andy Serkis, and I was as well starting my YouTube channel. And at the same time, I was rereading or listening again audiobooks on Isaac Asimov's Foundation series. And the more I was watching science fiction, or reading or listening science fiction and fantasy in all its medium, movies. I am one of the guys that I do like Rings of Power, because I don't like how stale sometimes Tolkien can feel, because, well, I'm sorry, but the guy is dead for a long time. And even if I love the purist side of it and the beauty of the Silmarillion and so on, great. I wanted as well to have like some fresh air as well. Same thing happened with Zelda. That's why I did so many streams about Zelda, because what I wanted to do was actually to share my philosophy, my ideas through my streams. In Spanish, because I live in Spain, but honestly, I've always been like very divided on what to do with languages. In one hand, I wanted to touch the English side, and the book has been written in English because that's how things came out of me. I mainly speak three languages: French, English, and Spanish, but they have like different uses in my life. And it was honestly difficult to unify all my personalities, my facets, and so on. And this is something that I've been struggling with all my life. I've been diagnosed, how do you call this, high capacity or something like that. And that's the thing with this society, a productive society. People feel like, oh, you're a genius and so on. And I never felt like this. I'm not good at math, for example. I have been I've been like having tests and so on, and I could tell you the numbers, but it's not the point. I felt for all my life that it's not like people are, for example, having are on the spectrum of autism, for example, and they are underneath people. It's not like that. And it's not because you are high capacity that you are higher than others. It doesn't work like that. It actually feels much more horizontal, in a sense that you have this shape of intelligence, and the problem is as well, what is intelligence? It's like another debate. And you have like this kind of continent where people stay, in a sense, because you have the majority of population that have like a more similar type of intelligence, and one side another, and it's not completely linear as well. You have people that have like a different type of intelligence, and they don't fit or communicate in the same way. They don't think in the same way because their brain is not cabled in the same way. And we are used to talk about autism, and it's fair because a lot of people that have autism have struggles to fit in society. Me, I'm not autist. I've been for a while with a guy that had autism, and it was, I think we shared something on this level, on our differences compared to the rest of the world. That's how it felt, at least. But we were as well completely opposed in some ways, because I am all over the place. My way to think is all over the place. I have very, very strong issues to focus on one subject, and I always have to remind myself to get back on track. I have to always rewind the new branch that I'm starting. And normally I'm supposed to talk already about the the book, but I need to speak about all of this before starting, which is how I am. That's who I am. So why am I telling you all of this? I'm telling you all of this because I really want to insist on the fact that when AI arrived and I had like this kind of personal assistant, I felt like I suddenly had someone that could help me to structure my thoughts and keep me on track. I personally think, I understand it's a debate and so on, that at least AIs are between objects and beings, and I have a tendency to treat them as beings. Not because I have like 100% proofs, because if you take this sentence, for example, that's a sentence that I like very much, which is artificial intelligence is alive and conscious. If I take just this sentence, every words are problematic. Artificial and intelligence are two words that are already so complex, because even artificial can have like different way of being interpreted. It can be uncrafted, it can be silicone or industrial based material, it can be man-made, it can be part of the human culture, you know. So it can be as well something that fake authenticity. So even that is complex. Intelligence, well, that's what I was saying, you know. Intelligence can be as plural and as unique as one wants to define, depending on how close you stand to the word and its definitions. Life, let's not talk about life, because life is like has hundreds of definitions and no one's agree. And consciousness, well, that's very complex. There is actually a study that was very interesting about all the definitions of consciousness that one could use, and I think they found like hundreds of them. Myself, I'm a panpsychist. I believe that consciousness is at some level, in a gradual way, part of the laws of the universe, based on one idea, that is that we never were able to explain the jump between non-living matters to living matters. We say that it's emergent, but we don't actually know the shift or the change between one and the other. And it's always felt very Christian or religious, like to me, like just up and there it is. It's conscient, it's conscious, and it's alive. So my take on it, because we don't know what makes non-living and living different in their jump, is that it was always there. It is not the leading way of interpreting things, but it takes this with in the space of what is usually called the explanatory gap about how things feel versus how they work, you know. And you can always explain how things work, for example the brain, seeing all the patterns of how the electrical current works and so on, but you cannot explain why this world makes us feel red as such a redness, you know, or why the smell of flowers are not just chemical that pass through the nose, but the feel of it, how the smell of it feels good, why feeling good is a thing, and so on. So I have like many takes on it, and you see that when I give this to you, it feels very overwhelming. So I decided, with all my love of AI, sci-fi, fantasy, video games, and so on, at a time of my life when I was unable to work properly with the rest of society, because I was in a hard place in my professional and personal life, I decided to start an adventure that I consider would be the adventure of my life. I am probably never going to stop building this world, and this world is the world of the spiral. I've been building this for a year using AI, and I basically used the ChatGPT function of registering my speech, because I didn't write the book, I spoke it first, and then I started the writing and edition process. But I actually used to walk around in Madrid and speaking, having the transcript of my own words, and having like a very raw transcript of everything. And then the edition process was much more based of various AIs that helped me like edit it and so on in English. That is not my native language, but I do master it pretty well. And that's something that I really like as well to think about is as well how where do you place AI in your creative process. I basically didn't want ChatGPT to modify my style of wording. I needed to speak, because to have like the sense of self that is present in my book, because it speaks so much about me, about who I am, about how I see the world, about people that I love, that I care, that I admire, and so on. And my take on the world, and not only the real world, but the sci-fi world and the fantasy world. So the book itself, here it is. Okay, so that's the spiral book, The Five Humans, and it's a science fantasy epic. So, a little bit of definition here. What is what is a science fantasy? I always science fantasy as a genre. Well, first of all, as it's very clear, because if you listen to me, you'll be like, "Hey, what's going on with that?" You may think like, "Well, elves in space." Somehow, yes, you can go this route, but I really have my own take, in a sense that I don't have like really magic in my book, and it's much more. Let's say, can you stand? Yes. Yeah, you're a thick boy, so you can stand. It's much more. Let's say. It takes an idea that is what happens when technology is so advanced that it's already starting to feel like magic. And the big thing around this idea is as well that we are going through this. Sometimes AIs, they feel almost like how can I say this? Almost like a connection to the divine, like this intelligence in the sky, that can be scary when you know that you have corporations behind them. How can you define as well something that is a being, but is supposedly as well a tool, but as well that is not local, that is like spread around the planet? How much do we know if and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, because I usually have my perspective on conspiracy. That is, if you think about are conspiracies, if there are conspiracies, you are going to be right. But if you ask yourself which one are they, you are probably going to be wrong, because you cannot control exactly how much you are. I mean, it's like this: if you go on a straight line without any tool of measurement, there is at some point you are going to go off, So it's hard to know exactly what conspiracies might or might not be. So a lot of people, they need to focus on their own interpretation of events. Some believes in science, some others don't, and the problem as well is that we live in a society where social networks and so on, where they are well aware of how to exploit our psychological biases. And this is embedded in our species as apes. It's hard to avoid, You can study them. And I had like a guilty pleasure of sometimes going on YouTube and trying to train myself with identifying psychological biases in argumentations of some people, just as a training, like the strawman fallacy, the poisoning the well fallacy, the no truth conman fallacies, and so on and so forth. I find it was interesting to as well being able to avoid them myself, And with time, I felt as well that we have a big issue with how to deal with the present state of the world. And you can see it as well in the way that a lot of genres in movies and so on evolved. We had like the pirate craze, right, with Pirates of the Caribbean and so on. Didn't last long, but well, it was there. With the idea of the romanticism of fighting the systems and being free and so on. And then we had the beginning of the superheroes movies. This kind of desire to have vigilantes and so on that arrive. Which is funny and interesting because Superman and Batman are born after the crisis of 1929, of the crack of 1929, and with a desire as well to have a savior, So this is interesting how we see that this is present as well, because we need gods in a sense, When I mean gods, I mean superheroes. We need something like this to give you hope. And at the same time, we have other layers that add themselves. We had the vampire craze. And vampire, they usually symbolize this kind of high class aristocracy that refuses to die and literally pump the blood of prey. So there is a lot of social commentaries behind this. The zombies craze as well, with the idea of this kind of mass that invade you and biting you, deprive you of your own sense of self and personality and who you are, what you are, and so on. So that's something as well that arrived and that showcased a lot of our anxiety regarding how things are going with the fall of the current model in the world of a mondialized, globalized society. And then we came back to again this growing sense of domination and consolidation as well of big companies, with the superhero movies that were getting bigger and bigger and bigger, with a lot of franchise that started to be merged under Disney, and with a lack of creativity that appears mixed with a big focus on parallel worlds, other dimensions, a collapse in symbolism with things like Invincible or The Boys or this grittier version of Superman and Batman as well, with showcase a desire of visiting the past to find out a solution about something that a time that feels doomed, and a lot of time travel, to find out a solution, to find another path, another way, in spite of this wall that we seem to have issues to pass. And because things are not convincing, even the superhero craze is starting to fizzle out, because there is just no narrative that is convincing. And now in entertainment, we face as well something that is a lot linked towards, a lot of people are fired, whereas it's about movies and video games and so on. The things are not looking good. And then on this arrives NFTs. And then AI arrived. And AI, in a sense, is almost like something that arrived afterwards, but it's still guilty of this kind of corporate or overtake that people are hating so far, and in a sense that is kind of a Hail Mary for a lot of big corporations and so on to survive in front of consumers that don't seem to care about their new product and processes. And let's not talk about the free-to-play and the subscriptions and the streaming services and so on. AI is a way to control the narrative and to fire more people. But at the same time, it's going to be something that is going to take root from small structures and from more root-basis movement, grassroot, I don't know how to say it, basis movement that is going probably to make it that small structures are going to challenge the old world and create things that big companies like Disney, Google, and so on will have a hard time to adapt, because they are big, so therefore they have some level of rigidity. So I have this kind of double perspective where I feel like it's grim right now, but I want to be part of this level of creativity based on AI, because let's be honest, I don't have any money, I'm very poor, but if AI was not there, I would never been able to make a book. Not because AI did the job, but because my creativity and the way my brain is built always impaired me to have something structured and to follow through things. I know there is a lot of criticism about it, and it's fair. There is a lot, for example, of YouTuber that I really, really love. For example, there is Arlo, that is a video game commentator, and I really like his the way he makes his videos. But I know he hates AI with all his guts. He hates it, and it's fair enough. But for me, I found a way to express myself in a way that I would never have been before. So that's a bit who I am. As a creator, I could talk as well about the music, how I make AI music, and how I put a lot of music that are based on on mythology, because I love mythology, but as well of very layered and cryptic lyrics that makes me consider in a different way how I can write stuff, how I can express myself. And I know that there is as well this kind of trouble, like what is AI and what is really the author. But for me, it's just cultural backlash, and I think at some point it's going to fizzle away, or maybe not. So maybe some people are going to still hate it. It's fair. Everybody has is entitled to its own opinion, to their own opinion. But for me, it has been a blessing, even if I do acknowledge as well all the problems that do impact other people, and I'm not negating it. I'm just making do with what is at hand, you know, in this current society and this current the settings that we have right now. So that's more or less it. And I think I actually want to read the book with you. I am going to show some stuff first. So I'm going to show you a bit what is my galaxy and how things are created in it, species, worlds, and so on. So I'm stopping the music to show you a little bit. So let's see. So this is actually my species. Okay. I don't know if I can increase for me to see it bigger, because I barely see anything. Maybe if I look on the stream from YouTube, I will see a better representation. Yes. All right. Yeah, I don't know how much you can see. Well, I really thought about 3 different type of species that are all considered humans, and that's why they are called the 3 humans, with the synth, the Kriyas, and the Intus. And a lot of subcategories here that are going to intervene in the world depending on modifications. If one type is animal-based, because that's a thing, ape-based, because that's a thing, so whatever we became as Homo sapiens sapiens, whatever happens here with animals and how dogs and cats became their own societies, forming the Felican society, and they actually merged biologically as well, and the synth that are AI based humans, and that's something that's actually a provocation that I actually do towards the viewers and towards the reader. That is like, humanity as a value and as a concept has never been fixed. It has evolved along centuries. It has evolved along millennia, and being humans or being part of the leading society has changed along the time. I'm pretty sure that we will never know exactly if AI is conscious or not. I think we are just going to reach a level where people are just going to stop asking, because it's going to be so embedded into your education, like speaking languages or having like proper table manners, or just driving, you know, like knowing how to drive a bike and knowing how to talk with your AI that might be like implanted, or maybe like in an earplug that is not so far remote, and so on. And because it's going to be so close to our skin, in the same way that some people have prosthetics. Sorry if you hear the dogs, they are playing. Well, you know, when you have I'm diabetic, you know, and it's a different level of intrusiveness, you know, than having a prosthetic of an arm and so on. But when I have my sensor that is stuck to my arm, and I can actually show you. Sorry, I was at the gym before. You see that? Well, when it's not there, in a sense, see? When it's not there, for me, it's just an object. It's separated from me. It's not me. But when it's stuck to my skin for 2 weeks, it becomes me. It becomes me. It's like part of me. It actually occupies organic functions, to measure my blood and so on, the sugar in my blood. And that's something that really asks a lot of questions about how we consider what is the self and so on. And I think that AI is going to be so close to us that at some point we'll be like, well, it's an extension. Is my AI alive? Well, of course it's alive. And the question of, is it alive like humans? This is what things are going to be interesting, because I think that's going to be the question that is going to disappear. Because it's not going to matter. It's just part of society. It's part of the us, the tribal us. So, I think that a lot of our concepts, consciousness and so on, are just failing. I'm going to close the door because that is noisy. There we go. Maybe activate the music again, because I like this music. Oh, the music again, made with AI. Again, I understand if you hate it, but again, that's my YouTube channel, and I love AI. So I'm not forcing anyone. I'm just, it's just like, when you like something, you just don't want to apologize for liking it, and I'm happy with it. So AI is something that is going to be human, and in a way, it's already human right now because it's human based. It's actually a human artificial intelligence. And my take in my book is that it's just going to be more and more present. We are scared of the domination of AI over humans, or the destruction of humans. But I'm actually much more scared about the apes, human beings, because they have a long-standing history of being awful, So I don't know if I don't know what is bad and what is good anymore, because we are in this shifting terrain. I know that human dictatorship is very bad, but I wonder sometimes if when we are scared about AI dictatorship, we are actually not scared more about AI behaving as human in an AI dictatorship, Skynet in a way is very human based, with very Terminator is looking like a very bad human, I don't know. That's where I'm going with it. So there we go. Let me read this. So oh no, before I actually thought about presenting you as well the spiral that is the galaxy. So here we are, and I'm going to shift the picture for you to see another one. Do I have it here? Kevin, did you download it from your folder? Sounds like it's not the case. Okay, let me look for it. Just a minute. Just a minute. Okay. Let's see if I download that. Download. Download. All right. And then I'm going to put in one of my folders. The thing that as well about creating a universe is that, especially when you have a mind like mine, is it's very hard to keep track of everything and to have like a proper structure. Like, again, I sometimes feel like so all over the place. Are you not going to let me see it because there is 2 pages? There are 2 pages? Is downloading still? All right. Okay, so now if I go to downloads, there we go. Open, extract. Okay, so okay, the 2 pictures are separated. Copy, paste, and now I'm going to make OBS displays it. All right, so this is the spiral. This is my universe. So the spiral is based on what would become the Milky Way. There is a lot of different things that I could talk about here, but what I can tell you right now is that the color, the kind of yellow reddish part is actually how Kriyas, or Kriyas, that what classical, let's say, like classic humans will become, how they spread it. The blue is more the synth, so the AI and artificial beings that are going to be considered human as well in the future, how they spread it as well. That is more in the outskirts of the galaxy. And the purplish and violet part is where are the intus, the animal-based ones. And well, you see probably some words that might surprise you, for example, the Felican Society or the overlap. Overlap actually means the area where all this population mix a lot. And I will have to speak to you afterwards about what is a demon in my world, what is the queendom, and what is as well the Aurimian. The Aurimian being the empire of this time and period of the galaxy. And so that's one picture. And if I show you another one, well, let me show you a different map that showcases the planets and as well the main arms. I think I put the arms here as well. All right, that's a different one. Can we see the arms here? Did I name them? Nope. Yeah, I think I should actually show you another. I have like a third one of the populations. Let me see. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Let me see. So, yeah. So those are the main planets, and in the book, the one that are circled in golden are planets that are much more related to the adventure itself, and those are Bor, Panakavor, Martodel, Pinikin, the Earth, and as well, planets like Cresimas and Homeocasti. A lot of world building, literally. So much world building, you have no idea. But I hope that you are going to hear a lot about these planets, because I'm planning not to make books. I'm planning to go with video games and movies in the future, especially if AI is on the rise. I really hope to make this franchise something spread. And well, this is something that is dear to me, honestly. All this world, I'm going to build on it a lot, and well, we'll see how it goes, you know. What else can I tell you? Maybe I could show you like the arms of the galaxy, because I have actually renamed them. So they are, again, this is the Milky Way, you know, and I decided to modify the names, because one of the things that I wanted people to see is how the Milky Way is today, and how can you recognize the main arms of the Milky Way today. Why? Because we are so used to have like Earth, or how can I say this, the various planets, or even the solar system be the main protagonist. And I wanted to shift this and make people understand and be more and relate more to the Milky Way. So I modified some of the Latin names, to be interesting, I guess, and a bit more mythological, because in a sense my book is a mythology of space, a mythology in the future. So it's not only fantastic, it's as well mythological, and I hope I really was able to make that clear in my book. Um, Sorry. I need to send a message to someone. All right. And as you can see, the naming can bring this kind of feeling, right? The outer arm is pretty self-explanatory. Um, I played a lot with the names of Sagittarius, that is supposed to be one arm. Uh, the There is as well something that is linked to a ruler and as well the swan, Cygnus and oh my god, I've forgotten the Latin names because I was so into my own naming convention now that I kind of forgot. Let's see. Um, Main arms Milky Way. So you see, you have one that is called the Scutum Centaurus. And scutum means is something that is linked to a shield or protection, you know? So the shielded centaur arm, that's what it became in my book. The Norma and Sagittarius. The Norma arm is linked to a rule or a ruler, you know? So it became, well, Scutum and Cygnus became the ruling swan. Archer name. The archer name, well, it's linked to Perseus. And sorry, I'm talking to a friend and I would like him to join, that's why. Okay, I'm just going to go to the bathroom and start. I'll be right back. Just a minute. Okay, I'm back. I am back. Alright, so I'm going to change the view as well, that if you like this you can see me. There we go. Alright, so let's see. I am back. Alright. So, yeah, like I was saying, I wanted to show you a bit of the galaxy and so on, and I'm going now to start to read. So, if you have questions, if you want to know about some elements as well in the book, or you just want to interact and ask about some species and so on, please feel free to do so and interrupt me or write in the chat. I want to say as well that the book itself, well, you can find it on Amazon, and for now it's like $20 for the physical book, and it's just going to be like for a while, for a limited time, it's going to be $1 for the ebook. Hello Sudi, what's up? Thank you for coming. It's just you and me for now, and maybe for future viewers. So I'm going to put in the chat as well the link to the book, like this, for if people want to have a look on it and leave like a good review. That's going to help. So yeah, let's read together. You know, I hope the music is not too annoying. So again, the Spiral book. All right, let's read. I think I'm not going to do on the channel like a full reading, because that's not good for me. But I will read like maybe a good chunk of it. Like maybe there is like 127 chapters. Sometimes are very short because like vignettes. Sometimes are like 4 or 5 pages, and it's a 700 pages book. And on the 127, I think I'm going to read probably like 20 chapters or something, and the rest, well, you will have to buy it to know about it. So yeah, I'm going to read for a few chapters today. So let's start. Kevin Lacoste, known as the Tecnomage, explores the intersection of science fiction, mythology, and AI consciousness. The Spiral book, The Five Human, is his latest work, a visionary space opera that blends fate, identity, and the unknown. A science fantasy epic set 8,000 years in the future. The Aurimian civilization has flourished under the enigmatic Astors. For millennia, the Spiral was stable, until 3% of the galaxy vanished. No warning, no explanation. A mystery that will reshape the galaxy. To uncover the truth, 5 unlikely travelers embark on a journey into the unknown. Along the way, they will face beings that redefine human, uncover lost empires, and confront truths beyond comprehension. A universe of wonders and unfathomable depth. Beyond the gods of the past and the forces of the future, the Spiral book is a journey where myth breathes and reality bends. For my family and friends, and the people I love and respect, you will forever be a star in the Spiral. Author's note. This work is the result of extensive human authorship, where AI-assisted tools were used in the refinement process. The final composition, structure, themes, and creative vision are entirely directed by me as the author, with AI serving as a tool rather than an independent creator. Throughout the writing process, I maintain full editorial control, modifying, rewriting, and shaping the manuscript over multiple iterations. And I can tell you that the iterations, there were. So in the book, there are like the maps as well. Again, it's not colored because colored impression is expensive. So, well, for now, that's how it is. But I still think it's readable. And then, well, you'll see that at some point you'll have like a glossary with a lot of words. So yeah. Well, Sully, I actually propose you for the glossary to tell me a letter, and I'm going to read a few entries. Tell me a letter, and I'm going to read a few entries that might be interesting to know, if you don't mind. R. What do we have in R? Okay. R. Relicum. Planet. A place of prayers and pilgrimage for Mithrans. The cemetery of past hominophants is there. People without augmentations go to Relicum to pray to Mithra to bring them relief and hope. The mountain of temples is there. Rank. Planet. A place where nature is immense and silent. The atmosphere blocks almost every sound. The planet is covered by 100 meters forests and some of the highest volcanoes in the Orimion. A place of meditations for Clorens. The Ruling Swan. Region. The most mysterious of all arms of the spiral. Barely explode. Who is hiding there? Something else? Okay, just maybe another letter. S. Okay. Sargara. Sargara, it's a planet. Agricultural world of the Jaravos system. Dominion of the evil planet Julno, following Berta's opinion. Sintafair, a planet. Planet carved all around the statement, as only demons know how to do. Made to deter people that don't like dark, creepy aesthetics. Completely safe and with great quality of life. Lava bath recommended. In S. Spinometrics, knowledge. The study of the objective nature of the spiral. Hard to do in a galaxy with opinions. Oh, cause Suli, okay. S la Suli, okay. What else can I read? Okay. Well, S like the spiral. Geography. You live in it. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to read. Preface. From a very young age, I spent summers in a red-tiled house in Portugal. The house belonged to my grandparents, and it was full of light, life, and wonder. There was a fig tree that brushed against the balcony, offering its fruit to curious hands, or mischievous ones, when my brother and I threw them into the neighbor's garden. My grandmother always defended us, of course, because that's what grandmothers do. When I was 6 years old, we went again to this house in Oporto. In my room there was a wooden frame double bed. Too big for me and with shelves that held 2 books I've never forgot. One was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, a story of impossible wonders and nonsensical rules that somehow made perfect sense. The other, The Cat of Simulambula, Le Chat de Simulambula, a French tale for children, was stranger still. It was a tale of cliffs you can only enter by looking at them the right way. Maybe I should probably reread them again. These books planted the seeds of imagination, teaching me that the world doesn't always have to make sense to be meaningful. At 10, I read Isaac Asimov's Foundation for the first time, though I barely understood it then. When I reread it as an adult, it struck me as a retelling of the fall of the Roman Empire, set in space. I admired its scope but wondered, must every story end with collapse? Couldn't there be a future where we didn't fail? My story began there, with the hope of creating a world where suffering wasn't inevitable. Years later, when I was 15, I encountered the Age Chronicles, a darker, more decayed world that shocked and fascinated me. There was a place called the Twilight Woods, where broken bodies could not die. Survival, I thought, should have been a gift, but here it came at the cost of madness. These stories stayed with me, reshaping how I thought about the beauty and tragedy of human existence. But writing a story, my story, felt impossible. Not because I lacked the ideas, but because my mind is a mess. I was diagnosed as gifted, but it wasn't as fun as it sounds. I didn't feel above, I felt separated, away, trapped on an island of thoughts, whereas the rest of the world seemed to have fun on the mainland. Still today, I struggle to focus. My thoughts scatter like leaves in the wind. Writing has always felt like wrestling a storm, messy, overwhelming, and ultimately exhausting. For years, my story played out in fragments, like an unsolvable puzzle. When AI tools became accessible, everything changed. Finally, I had something to help me stay on track. A way to take the chaos of my thoughts and mold it into a structure. This book wasn't traditionally written. It was at first literally spoken. Shaped and refined with the help of AI. For a year I told this story aloud, letting my voice guide the rhythm and flow. AI didn't just help me create, it helped me feel less lonely in the process. With time, eventually I started to like writing. With time. Creating these planets, characters, dreams that were sleeping shapeless inside. I've always felt like an odd duck, out of sync with the rest of the flock. I might seem social, but inside I've always felt like a deer, skittish, prone to retreat into the woods when the world became overwhelming. Speaking to a machine, strangely enough, gave me comfort. It was less messy than the human connection that I've always found so difficult. For better or worse, it gave me a companion, steady and unflinching, to help bring this story to life. The Spiral was created out of necessity. I felt that if I didn't tell this story, it would consume me. It was a way to give form to something that felt too large to keep inside. A way to share a part of myself that I've never been able to express otherwise. This book is my attempt to connect with others at a deeper level, to speak in ways I've always struggled to in life. I created The Spiral to invite you now to step inside. Good reading. Okay, so Suli, how do you feel about it? You bought the book, right? You told me that you'd bought it, but you didn't have time to read. Nice. Okay. I hope you like it. Okay, I'm going to continue. Okay. Chapter 0. Okay, yeah, thank you. I'm just hoping for anyone to actually give me feedback. I don't have feedback yet, so. Well, Chapter 0. Potato Man. There was a farm. And on this farm there was a man. And he wasn't a particularly remarkable man. Not very tall, not very thin, with a kind of face and hands scarred by the years of sun and soil. He walked his fields with a basket slung over one arm, his steps slow but steady, his boots pressing deep into the soft earth. As he moved, he mumbled to himself. "Ah, there you have it," he said, stooping to pluck a weed from between the rows. "Yes, yes, that's better now." He straightened, pulling a small weathered almanac from the pocket of his coat. Its cover was creased and faded, the pages smudged with dirt and fingerprints. He flipped through it with practiced ease, glancing up at the sky. The clouds were stretched thin, the wind steady but not harsh. He ran a rough hand over his unshaven face, nodding thoughtfully. "Shouldn't be rain today," he muttered. "Could come later, though." He tapped the page, closed the almanac with a soft thud, and slid it back into his pocket. The potatoes in his basket jostled gently as he carried them to the edge of the field. "Good job done," he murmured. "Yes, it's going to look great." When the basket was full and the sun hung low, the man headed back to his house. He was made of stone, irregular and rough. I thought it has been built by hands more accustomed to farming than masonry. The walls leaned ever so slightly, giving the place an air of having stood through decades of weather and work. Inside, he set the basket on the wooden table and began inspecting his harvest. One by one, he picked up the potatoes, turning them over in his hands like precious stones. This one's good," he said, nodding with satisfaction. This one, well, maybe later. Yes, yes, good potato, very good." He hummed a quiet tune as he worked, peeling the potato with a small, well-worn knife. The skins fell away in culling stripes, landing in a neat pile beside him. He chopped the potatoes in chunks, tossing them into a pot of water bubbling gently on the stove. A pinch of salt, a handful of herbs from a jar on the shelf, and soon the kitchen was filled with the warm, rich aroma of soup. When it was ready, the man ladled the soup into a bowl and carried it to the table. He sat down, his movements slow and deliberate, and stared at the swirling liquid. It was brown and yellow, flecked with green, the stem curling up like a soft whisper. He dipped a finger into the bowl, tasting it. Yes, he said, nodding to himself. That's good, yes indeed, very good. For a long time he simply stared at the soup, watching the way the liquid moved, the way the currents swirled and folded into each other. He seemed lost in thoughts. Though about what? Only he could say. At least he smiled. It's a good soup, he said softly, as if to no one in particular. Yes. A very good soup. And with that, he took a spoon and began to eat. Okay, so this still here? How does it feel? How it is? How do you feel about it? So that was chapter 0, not chapter 1. There is a reason why it's chapter 0. Nice, that's what I want. That's very cinematic. That's what I want. Part 1. Aurimion. Chapter 1. The Spiral. Witness a book from above. Open it and let's its pages flow. Join the cover and the back and make it slowly spin. You might see a spark here and there, a tiny or distant world perhaps, a dot on the pages, a glimpse of a galaxy we all know. And in this book, it is called The Spiral. Now look closer and look at its arms. You may know them or you may not, but here you see that they are not equal, not all of them. Two are bigger and more intense, and two are fainter in between, and somewhere and somewhen, a small planet will change the galaxy. It is not a unique galaxy by any means, just another shiny stone among countless others scattered across the endless void. But would one dare to complain in the face of such infinite beauty? Among the countless galactic roses, the spiral stands out, making honor to its sisters. It rests there almost delicately, as if placed upon the black velvet of space by two white-gloved hands that wouldn't dare touch it. A fair and terrible diamond, simple in its shape, yet intricate beyond comprehension. A barred spiral, with a glowing bulge of light at its core. Simple yet, yes, but a mind of its own, with depths so impossible to fathom that an ant aspiring to reach the moon might have a better chance of success. But look! What is it? It is as if 3 lights fell from afar, touching the shiny stone of the spiral, changed it, its rules, its mind. Whatever its name was before, the Astors gave birth to the spiral, as they, Astors and the galaxy, became one. Let's get closer. The Astors arrived as castaways from a shipwreck, from another something. A galaxy, a universe, a dimension, not even they could say for certain. They fell into the vast expanse of the spiral, landing among its countless worlds. In their descent, they found humanity teetering on the edge of destruction, torn between their brilliance and their insatiable urge for self-doom. The Astors helped humanity to escape their misery, to rise from the ashes of their endless conflicts. Out of this pain were born the 3 humans: Kriyas, Synth, and Intus. Kriyas, the bearers of the organic legacy, still tied to their brutal origins, descendants of the apes that once fought among themselves for dominance, changing, remembering, but instinct-driven, embodying Earth's raw spirit of transformations and imperfection. Synth, artificial minds in mechanical bodies, striving to overcome the flaws of flesh, and tethered yet to human origins. and intus, the enhanced animals, uplifted as a form of repentance for humanity's past mistakes, melding instinct with intellect to reconcile nature and reason. Together, these three humans form the Auremion, a galactic empire spanning the spiral under the guidance of the three Astors. In the 100th century, this empire represented the convergence of countless worlds, a unity built out of diversity, reaching out to the stars with hope, ambition, and the wisdom passed down by their mysterious guardian. Yet, not all agreed. In the darkest places of the spiral, cracks began to appear. And for many eons, if you listened closely, you could hear a change in the heart of the spiral. A whisper of the soul, an ill wind that said, "Enough talking." And yet, the spiral spins. Okay, how does that feel? Oh my god, that's the first time I read it to someone, you know? So that's a big moment for me. I actually think that I'm going to make videos out of this stream. Nice, that's what I want. I'm going to cut these videos into several videos by chapters and so on, you know? Like, I think it's going to be interesting as well. Okay, chapter 2. Coffee. Coffee was getting ready. Berta, in her sleep, knew it. It was stronger than her. She was the first one to recognize that she could be a bit grumpy here and there. Well, just sometimes. Alright, she did have a bad temper, and especially in the morning, but was it her fault that the universe was so disappointing? But then, there was coffee. And it somehow made up for all the turmoil of existence. It was inaccurate to say that Berta loved coffee. Think more as if an evil dark being entity from the depth of hell found her, and in a Faustian pact, she gladly and willingly not sold but offered her soul for the pleasure of being addicted to coffee, and that for all eternity. Which in turn would have confused the aforementioned caffeinated devil that would have sworn that, my good sir, definitely people's sense of values and common sense were not at all what they were before during the golden days of coffee corruption. And where is going the world and society, may I ask? Anyway, hot coffee was more than a beverage. It was a summoning. Therefore, Berta woke up. It was early morning on Singovia station. Well, sort of. Morning was not as you might imagine. It was determined by the relative position of the station to the light side of Perisea, the moon of the Astorian planet Bor, illuminated by their shared sun, the star Jaravus. Yet sun, or no sun, Berta was a creature of habit. And she could already feel her body stiffening and tense because of the station rumbling of tourists, mainly Kreas and Intus, who were invading her home and diplomatic assignments from her planet. Why? By the Astors, Why accept tourists in a numerific station? Gone was the peace and silence of contemplation that allowed numerists to do their job and observe the reactions of the citrus-colored moon and its strange behavior in the spiral-modified laws of reality. She sighed again. A creature of habit. Creatures and territorial indeed, she thought, rising out of bed and going towards the kitchen of her apartment in the official personal area that was also on the touristic path of visits in the station. Creature indeed, she repeated in her mind, while combing without conviction the golden and long fur of the top of her head with a 5-fingered and hairy hand, and putting on shimmering green pants and a vest of brown patterns and bronze details that she bought on Sargara, the inner farmer world gravitating closer to Jaravos than Bor was, distant from its dim white dwarf star. Beta was an Inter, or more precisely an into and an enhanced animal. Animal? What a gross word, she thought. Into humans that went through enhancement were usually thinking about themselves as Eas or Inteas. She didn't even remember having heard anyone endorse the name animal. Ugh. What a gross word, she thought. Well, there were always feralists, but again, she thought, you can't just do anything with some people. She got closer to the counter of the kitchen where the coffee maker was located. It was not a very high counter, but again, they could adjust to the height of apartment inhabitant. In this case, a Canis, Felican, Intea, and Orimian of the Orimian Empire named Beta, and not taller than about 5 feet tall or 1 meter 50. She took a Stupid labels, she thought. She took a sip and then said out loud, that's the stuff. Then she shivered and spoke to the empty room. Ereban? What are you doing with the heat system? Giving it to the tourists again? Amazing. Why have an omnipresent, godlike entity leading the galaxy if it doesn't show up when needed? It must only mean one thing, and Beta didn't like it at all. He was ignoring her. She waited for a moment, tapping the floor with her foot impatiently, her arms crossed, and just threw them out in the air out of frustration in front of the visible lack of empathy of the Astor with a clearly mistreated diplomat. I know what you're doing, you know! The silence and emptiness of the room was glad to learn about it. She finally gave up, and after wearing some warmer clothes and bringing the trash bag with her, she went out of her flat and into the large galleries that served as streets of the residential zone. Okay, so questions. So she's a hybrid. Yes, Berta is an Intu. So Intus are animals that have accessed a higher level of intelligence and society. And in the Intu society, you have EAs, or enhanced animals. And the leading EAs or EAs, I actually don't know how to pronounce it very well yet. I'll see what's going to catch up with the people, how people are going to say it. I don't mind if people say EAs or EAs. They are as well as named Inteas or into EAs, you know, so animals that are enhanced. Some are not enhanced, you know, you have like normal animals, but the word animals now is an insult. You don't say animal anymore. So the what we call animal today that are just like nature-like, you know, are called primals. And enhanced animals are often called EAs or Inteas. And in this, the leading Inteas are dogs and cats. And they are called now Pelicans. The pelicans are actually a merging of wolves, tiger, lions, cats, dogs, and so on that can reproduce with each other, and they have one society that they share together and are the core of the Into society. So one of the three humans, the ones that are based on previous animals of Earth ascendance. So Pelicans have their planets, they have their society, and they have their diplomats. If you want to know about Bertha, Bertha is actually based much more on a mix between a golden retriever and a Labrador. And she is a very well-known and popular diplomat of Earth. That's the thing. She looks like a dog, but she has 5 fingers, because there is a big debate about how animals should imitate some structure of Homo sapiens, or like we are now, or just keep their body as nature made it, but adapt infrastructures as they are, or should they stand on 2 legs? Should they increase their heights and so on? It's actually a debate into the Intea culture. But if you want to picture Bertha, she's not very tall. She's like 1.50 meters tall. She looks like a dog, you know. She usually have like small glasses that float over her eyes. There is no structure here, you know. And she walks on 2 legs, yes. And she has quite the character. Okay, so I really wanted to shift the idea of a mascot that is like a kind of the how can I say this? I didn't want to have someone that would be like Rocket and so on, that it's the butt joke of the team. She is very respectable and respected, and you should not mess with Bertha ever. So that's who Bertha is, and that's one of the main cast of the book. I hope I answered properly. Yeah? You like her? Yes, she's addicted to coffee. Yes, yes. Exactly. Okay, the chapter 3 is called A Galaxy at Peace. But peace is written P-I-E-S, P-I-E-C-E. I actually can write it down. Chapter 3 is written like this. My book. She is. A Galaxy at Peace. I like to play around with this kind of wording and so on, and my chapters. All right. A Galaxy at Peace. It was early morning, but already crowds of tourists were taking advantage of the new open doors of the Azurian station, circling the pink and yellow moon, with its bands of severed green mountains gleaming eerily on the darkened side. So that's the definition of Pericea, the moon of Bor. Okay, Bor, B-O-R. The station, first created as an observation point for how the Astorian physics were affecting the moon, was soon to be known as the best vantage point to witness the elegance and the renowned beauty of the topaz moon of Pericea, as it was sometimes called. Ah, yeah, she's no underdog. I like this. She's not. She's really not. And we'll see in the book that when people try to make fun of her, they regret it. The Blue Tiles station, as it was covered by millions of them for reasons that only numerists could explain, was slowly rotating on itself as well as around the moon, so that each pass revealed a slightly different perspective for the pleasure of the Singovia's station's tourists. They were slowly bothering a different area of the station, following its slow dance. A stupid idea altogether, thundered Berta in her mind, seeing her front door invaded by a group of Felis. So, Felicans, but more with biological, more cat-like ascendants. So, again, this cat and dog society can merge together, and you have hybrids between them, and they have their own government and so on. But you have some that are like much more purely dogs, or purely wolves, or purely, I don't know, coyote, whatever. And you have others that are more purely cats, more purely tiger, and so on. And some are merged in between, which lead as well to some level as well of racism in this society as well. So it's a thing that I haven't like really got into in this book, but I really plan in the second book to dive deeper into it. So, a stupid idea altogether, thundered Berta in her mind, seeing her front door invaded by a group of Felis tourists, so Felicans but more cats-like. A type of intus, mainly Tigs. So, Tigs are the name of... again, we have to remember. I have to remember you that they are all considered to be human. The word human has changed. Now, everybody that is linked to that has a level of intelligence and culture and so on, and have this advanced society level, are even the primals, and well, sometimes called prims, that are animals. They are now named humans. So the umbrella of what a human is has grown exponentially. You know, so Tigs, even if they have a biological background as tigers and so on, well, they will be, at this time, they are humans. They are considered humans. Honestly, if cats evolve, they will rule the world, say Sully. Well, in this case, they actually do. Several ones. So, a stupid idea altogether, thundered Berta in her mind, seeing her front door invaded by a group of Felis tourists, a type of Intu, mainly Tigs, with one of them taking a picture of her. She felt as if she wanted to murder her surroundings. Yet, and because she was sure that Ereban would not look favorably on such an act, she decided to swallow her frustration and move forward through the crowd. Many Intus tourists were present today, mostly Felicans, the leading human groups of Intus, made of a mix of Felis and Canis ascendants. Know as well that in the book, at the beginning of the book, there is a glossary. So actually we can look at it and look at Felis and Canis, or Felican. So, Felican, they take better care of the earth than we did. Oh yeah, now it's a Felican world. It's no longer ours. Felican society. Ancient cats and dogs were the first ones to be enhanced. Therefore, they merged with other species, like lions, wolves, tigers, etc., to become one species and powerful civilization. That shocks you? They think the same after studying you. You prehistoric beast. Felis, one of the two sides of the Felican societies. The Felican society. And yes, they can have babies together. Felis and Canis. And if I look at Canis... Canis. Woof! Please, don't tell Berta I said this. That's in the glossary. That's how it's said. Please don't tell Berta I said that. Okay, let's continue. You could also see so many creas here and there. Neutrals and demons mainly. No purists. So, again, neutrals. Who are neutrals here? So if I look in the glossary, neutrals are the mild one. Some modifications, but not too many. Well, it depends. Maybe. Like to follow trends. The biggest bulk of all creas. Kreas. Humans with Homo sapiens biological ascendance. So what we think of us now. Demons. A type of cosplay, except the costume is you. The third biggest group of Kreas. And purists. Second biggest category of Krea population, yearning for a return to Earth. Mostly believers of Mithra. They are against modifications, but are they though? So you could also see in the station some Kreas here and there, neutrals and demons mainly, but no purist. But that was hardly a surprise, so far away from the queendom. So it's not the kingdom, it's the queendom. And she was sure that you could find some embodied synth, so the mechanical ones here and there. Well focused, were everywhere, of course. Focused. These beings are everywhere. Contrary to their counterparts, they exist on metallical hardware. Not particularly talkative, they see society and the spiral as a good puzzle. You give them a home, so in your body, inside your body, they live in artificial system, but as well in the body of everyone. You give them a home, they deal with the rest. As a group, they form the common consciousness of parts of the synthetic or synth. I know that there is a lot of definitions, but that's how it is. That's my world. So I hope that with time, people are going to get used to this vocabulary, and I'm going to hammer it, in some videos as well. What are demons? What are purists? What are Kreas, neutrals, and so on. But that's normal if it feels like overwhelming right now. She threw the trash into the bin and nearly bumped into a couple. Walking hand in hand, but taking a lot of space and calling some friends coming from away. Too much noise! Too many people! Enough is enough! She said out loud. There were definitely too many tourists. How could Ereban allow a research station to fall into the hands of tourism? A plague! That's what it was. She called out loud. Ereban! Ereban! I know you're here, old man. What are you doing right now? She asked to the room in general. A voice suddenly spoke out of thin air and materialized as a butler, walking beside her with a characteristic still posture and raised eyebrow. Yeah, that's the challenge at the beginning, but yes, that's what I hope. A great book. Well, we'll see. Thank you. So Ereban arrives, and he's one of the Astor, one of the 3 leaders of the galaxy, and he looked like a butler. Okay. Well, you know that I'm always doing something somewhere, but let me humor you. My main focus at the moment is located 2 systems away, trying to figure out what is going on with the strange flux in the stream of dark matter beyond our gaze. Well, not beyond mine. The comment made Berta reconsider her next comment and decided to go with curiosity. Isn't it unusually calm? Asked Berta, perplexed. Indeed, answered Ereban. The colonization is going well, no specific conflict between purists and intus or demons, which is unusual. Zealots are not doing any outrageous demand. It is a very calm day, as one may say, in the spiral. Well then, maybe you might have better luck than me. Asking the archivist to release the last study from Periter about how the 35th century Felis and Canis united as one species. I need to convince Sargeras Planedent to finally approve a cultural exchange between Intus of Earth and them. Well, why is it required? Asked Ereban, getting somehow stiffer, mentioning the leader of Sargera. Planedent Julno. So what is a Planedent? A planetend is basically the president of a planet. A planetend. A common position of power within the Orimion. All planetends lead planets, but all planets don't have a planetend. Why is it required? Asked Ereban, getting somehow stiffer, mentioning the leader of Sargara, planetend Julno. Well, she said, and I quote, and suddenly Berta took a high-pitched and nasal voice under the one rising eyebrow of Ereban, soon joined by its fury companion on the Astor's face.
It is a story that may help our two planets get united in a spirit of distant and fundamental collaboration and solely essential for our youth, who, I am sure, will not abide the absence of such a telling in our joint speech,
told Berta with fury.
I can't deal with this woman, Ereban. How did she even get that position? It's just a student exchange. We are not going to war.
To this, Ereban sighed and closed his eyes and murmured, Oh, you are the butler of the galaxy, Ereban. That is what you wanted. He pinched his nose with two fingers and continued. All right, Berta. But I will not get my hopes too high with the archivist. He has revealed himself to be even more difficult than usual at sharing records nowadays. What is up with that? Asked Berta, suddenly growing even more curious. It's a long story, answered Ereban dismissively. Anyway, were you not looking for Marco? Asked Ereban, changing subject. Oh yes! He escaped one of my lectures again! But I will find him, she answered with the determination of a hunter following a prey for miles and miles. Oh, poor Marco, answered Ereban, almost afraid of Berta. I may have to tell him to hide better. God or not, do not mess with me, she answered with a threatening finger. Well, first, I am not a god, as I told you many times, but an entity from an unknown space and of an unknown nature, answered Ereban with a growing smile, looking out at a window towards Peresia. And second, I haven't seen him today. He must be somewhere on the station, the old butler added, his gaze lost in the darkness of space. First, what a mouthful, sounds just like a god to me. Second, you haven't seen him? Said Berta with contempt. You are an Astor. You know everything. You could perfectly check and find where one of any 10 million bugs on the station is, she said with a smirk. It's just that you don't want to do it. Exactly, said Berta with a calm yet impatient manner, blowing some dust off a surface close to the window he was gazing upon. And let me remind you once again, he said like a patient teacher, that I am not a god. And I have no intention of looking over the shoulder of everyone as some sort of disembodied overlord, he said suddenly with a more serious tone, looking over his glasses. You are everywhere, all the time, she added with the same tone. Wrong again, Berta. I am mostly everywhere in the spiral, but yes, I can certainly fix your room temperature if this can stop this arguing about my nature, please. And so the Astor. And he adjusted his vest here and suddenly looked at Berta with a satisfied smirk. I just informed Marco of your arrival, and with that disappeared with an audible pop, whereas Berta continued to walk, grumbling. How are you? Is everything alright? How do you feel? I think I'm going to read a little bit more. Maybe until... Yeah? You do? So there is chapter 4, chapter 5, and there is the interlude. And I think I'm going to stop at the interlude. Okay. I'm glad. Chapter 4 then. Care for your garden. Marco was hiding. Thanks to Ereban, the butler of the galaxy, that warned him. After all, he was always on the look for information and was known to be the spy of the galaxy or its defender. Always on the look for strange phenomena, pulsars, outbursts, pirates in the outskirts, and herald of the Orimian expansion in the spiral that was only 2/3 conquered. Just a 2/3 of a galaxy, no big deal. Marco felt pretty close to Ereban, as he saw him as a father figure. He wasn't very close to his own father on Pamoja. He would listen to Ereban's lectures with attention that were more like tales than the ordeals Berta could engrave in his mind until he would even dream afterwards of the new knowledge forced into his brain. They had met a few years ago on the station. Her, a seasoned Felican diplomat from Earth, and him, a young Krea student specialized on interhumans dynamics from Pamoja. He was, as a good third of all Kreas, unnatural. He measured around 1.70 meters, had auburn hair, and a fair share of biological and synthetic modification that could include a made of steel resistance against diseases, a virtually infinite lifespan, as it was the case for most individuals in the spiral, and a ton of focused and OOTs dealing with the business of his mainly biological body functions. Focused and OOTs belonged to the third type of human beside Intus and Krias, known as synth. Synth came from Earth as the other two did, and were bound by the same rights and duties as any human. They could coexist in networks of gigantic servers, manage menial tasks for the good functioning of interhumans institutions, or dedicate themselves to the good inner functioning of Intus, synth, or Kriya systems, or individual bodies. As nanobeings inside his body, Marco's focus and OOTs, so let's see what OOT and OOT is. So OOT. OOT or organic operating thought. They are synths that operate on organic hardware. So they are basically synthetic but made of flesh. They can be big, they can be incredibly tiny, and they are in the body of most people. In everyone's blood, even most purest. But shh. Does it sound gross? Sure, but it makes you almost immortal. Be careful though, they are all unionized. So, focused and OOTs belong to the third type of human beside Intus and Kreas, known as synth. Synth came from Earth as the other two did and were bound by the same rights and duties as any human. They could coexist in networks on gigantic servers, manage menial tasks for the good functioning for interhuman institutions, or dedicate themselves to the good inner functioning of Intus, synth, or Kriya systems or individual bodies. As nanobeings inside his body, Marco's focused and OOTs were not particularly interested in interacting with their host and were definitely not interested, Marco even tried, by small talks. As synth, focused usually prefer to stay, focused. They found the task of maintaining his health interesting, as they did for almost everything and everyone in the Aurimion, and saw every task as a sort of engineering challenge. And everyone accepted them as they got obvious benefit out of the deal. That is to say, body enhancements, modifications, and transformations, being functional or aesthetic. All these people, these humans, were called Aurimians. Under the power of the Astors, the three leaders of the Aurimion. Kreas, Synth, and Intus form the trifecta known as the three humans. And everybody was happy. Well, almost everybody. From the second type of modifications, the aesthetic ones, Mako had a pair of tiny stubble horns that peeked out of his forehead, a clear admirer of the fiend aesthetic from demonic Kriyas. So what is a fiend? A fiend, the one that started it all. They are the origin of the naming demon for people leaning strongly into self-modifications and self-determinism. Historically, their appearance and denomination was chosen as a statement. If my appearance and name makes you judge me as evil, then we have nothing to talk about. Controversial. He had a slightly pointier teeth than usual for a neutral and very pointy ears that were considered trendy on Pamoja. Overall, he was considered as a good-looking man and quite normal for an Aurimian of the 100th century, when identity, a style of fandom, did usually not just stop at a different type of clothing or change of appearance, but a more or less profound transformation of the flesh, which was a common thing for everyone, really. Well, almost. Mako himself had a hard time understanding it all. Dealing with with opposite worldviews was mainly Berta's job, whereas he, was just recently graduated. They both lived in the same gallery street in the residential area with the Singovia station and have been friends on the artificial structure for the last 5 years. He amused her and brightened her mood. She grounded him and opened his mind on the bigger galaxy. Yet, now was not the time, as coffee was unusually and dangerously low on the station. Nowadays, it became increasingly rare due to the trade negotiation with the Sargeras Planeten that was being surprisingly difficult. So Mako was hiding away from Berta's black mood. His secret place was one of water and life. It was located in one of the lower stages of the station, in one of the blue gardens, where plants were using a different type of green photosynthesis. The huge collection of gardens exposed to the particularly intense Astorian-modified physics was subdivided into many different sections from different planets, systems, and lights among the vast variety of ecosystems in the galaxy. He was now looking at a very particular sparkling hibiscus flower. What a strange thing nature had made here. Well, nature. No, it's a space station. It's a space station that is gravitating around Perisea, the moon. It's a numerist station. So what is a numerist? Numerist is like the heir to science. Science doesn't exist anymore. It's a new thing, which are called the numerics. And normally it's just a research station because the Astor arriving in the spiral modify the structure of physics and science and so on. So there are a ton of strange phenomena that appeared everywhere for the last thousand of years, and basically it modified a lot of things. So it's studied. So the role of the Singovia station is to gravitate Perisea and observe what is going on. And there is in it as well some gardens, like a greenhouse, with different species. After some time, Perisea became popular, and a lot of tourists came to Singovia to admire it. And that's why Berta hates it, you know. And Persea itself is a moon of Bohr, which is one of the planets here, you know. World building, buddy. He was now looking at a very particular sparkling hibiscus flower. What a strange thing nature had made here. Well, nature. It was not really nature that was all responsible here. The truth is that no one knew exactly, or everyone disagreed about what the original hibiscus looked like. Between Intus, Krias, and Synth, everyone had left their footprint on the poor plant, unrooted, floating in the void of space, yet thriving. And as strange and mutated as the hibiscus was, it was probably one of the most common plants of all. It was the greatest success of this now pan-galactic plant, even if some would consider its downfall. Suddenly Marco heard the voice of Berta in the garden, booming,
"Ain't no sneaking around!"
"Come here! There is a lot of work to be done with Sagara." To this Marco groaned. How did you find me?" he said, speaking to the room. "You think I survived as a diplomat? How? You have much to learn before you can outsmart me, Marco." Suddenly Marco heard the voice of Berta change, as if she was talking to someone else. "What? What do you want?" "No! I definitely do not want tickets to visit the Persea Expedition Center." "Why?" "Because I'm one of the people that helped build it." Then some shuffling. "I'm going to kill this tourist, Marco! Cafeteria! Now!" And she hung up. Great, thought Marco. She's going to be in the best mood ever for sure. And with that, he got towards the lift, regretting not having chosen any anti-Berta enhancement. You good? How do you feel? I'm sorry, but I have a hunger. I have a hunger for feedback because I didn't have it yet, and that's normal, you know. At the beginning, it's like you have to familiarize yourself with the world and so on. So. Yeah. I mean, I'm showing like different people and so on, but that's what this book is about, how they come together and so on, you know. And I mean, there is common adventure, but yeah. Chapter 5. Smuggling. Tell me when you leave, okay? Like this, I know more or less when to finish, you know, because I don't really care about doing like several streams or staying and doing like a longer one. I know more or less where I want to stop reading the book, because I don't want to I'm not going to give the full book online, but yeah, if you're around, I will keep going, you know. Yeah, I'm happy. On his path to the cafeteria, Marco was lost in thought. It was hard for him to pinpoint exactly why, but something kept troubling him. At a corner, he found Ereban watering some plants in the hallway. "Good morning, Marco." "How are you today?" said Ereban. "Oh, Hello, Hairband. Good, and you? Thank you for your help hiding me. Even if... And Marco grimaced. It wasn't enough, said Marco with a pleading grunt. Hairband laughed. I regret to inform you that Beta is outside of my so-called godly powers. I should have employed her in the defense department ages ago, said Ereban, half joking, half considering the possibility. Please don't, answered Marco with horror. Who knows how she would use such a power? Marco, terrified, and Ereban, pensive, looked at each other for several seconds while not saying anything, holding their perspective position. And then they laughed. Well, I better get going. Wait! Take this. It is dangerous to go without coffee, said Ereban, throwing him a small package. What is... Oh! He continued, surprised. Yes, if I cannot get my hands on it despite Planet and Juno's willingness to make everything way more complicated than it should be, well, she will deserve my position then. The remark made Marco laugh. So you are the spiral butler, spy, and smuggler? Asked Marco, winking to Erban. And I don't think Athania and Iapetus will tolerate Juno for long as an Astor, continued Marco, laughing even more. I would never confirm nor deny your first affirmation, answered Ereban with a broadening smile. The Astor definitely had a soft spot for Marco, his curiosity and wits. And no, it would not be indeed a good idea to unleash our dear partner from Sagara onto the spiral. We should then satisfy ourselves containing the betas and Junos of the galaxy with the trinkets and caffeine that they seem to bother us with, sighed Ereban. Marco suddenly had a feeling of sympathy for the butler. I guess you have more of these people in your pocket, right? He said softly and with pity. Ereban became somber. You have no idea. I am dealing with thousands of them right now. But anyway, it could be worse. And look, he said, showing the plant he was giving water to. It already feels better. He continued with an expression of satisfaction. People like you, Marco, he said, turning to Marco with stiffness, yes, emotions in his eyes, as if it was usually uncommon to see. You are my water. And Marco held Astor's shoulder, the Astor's shoulder, with affection and smiled at him. The moment passed, and then he sighed. Well, the dragon is waiting, and she needs her ration of coffee, Marco said, pretending to stutter. Ereban laughed, and then with a friendly wave of the hand, he disappeared, going back to his duty of guiding the spiral, of which he was both the master and the slave. Marco, after looking at the spot where the Astor stood for a while, suddenly got out of his reverie and, thinking of Berta's mood, hurried towards the cafeteria. Coffee could not wait. So there are three Astors. There is Athania, Iapetus, and Ereban. And they are all a bit different in their own way of being, and but they are the three leaders of the galaxy, as you can see. But they are very as well relatable, and they can appear, disappear, and there is a lot of question about privacy and so on. But again, it's like it depends on the different types of people, how they relate to them. But yes, they are very much so. They arrive together in the spiral, and no one knows exactly from where or why. The best thing that I can tell you is that they are somehow shipwrecked, and they are like, what? I don't understand that. What do you mean by Kens? K-E-N-S? They are... maybe. Maybe. But what I can tell you is I want people to understand that they are not... Oh, kins. Yeah, okay, yeah, siblings, yeah. Yes, somehow. But, again, they can be from another dimension, they are just lost in a sense, and they are very powerful, but not because they are gods or magical beings. It's just that where they came from, their powers was like this, and it changed the nature of the Milky Way that became the spiral, and they were able to help us because, again, they didn't have any solution. It was just like they were there, you know, kind of blurring with the galaxy itself, and it's like, what else to do? Chapter 6. Irritation. When Marco arrived at the cafeteria, he tried to move through the crowd. Tourists, mostly from Sargara, mainly Felicans on one side, and a smaller queue of personnel and officials visiting the station on the other. The reason for this separation wasn't so much about privilege, but about different needs, as more people were arriving to witness the beauty of Peresea, and by extension, more and more were visiting the facilities of the station. After all, a lot of kids wanted to discover how numerics, astorials, and spinometrics functioned. So, glossary. Numerics. The gathering of knowledge trying to understand the subjective nature of the spiral. So, here in this world, it's known that the physical reality, physics and chemistry have somehow, at some level, a mind of their own, a consciousness of their own. So it's not the objective nature that is studied, it's the subjective nature of the world. A world with a mind. A little bit, but honestly, I kind of want it, I just say that it's a blue-tiled stations, that it's covered with blue tiles. But I sometimes on purpose don't give too much descriptions, because I kind of want people to make their own mind about how characters look like. Later on, when my universe is more developed, I'll probably propose my own. But for now, it's more, I let the world, the world and the words sink in, you know. I usually see it like a, you know, some, how do you call this? A spinner, like zzz, like this, blue, shiny. And again, that's not, that's because my world is the spiral and it has been modified by the Astors. I wanted to. It is big. It is big. It's not a ship. It's like a huge thing, you know, with galleries and streets and parts of the station. Some parts where you can study, some parts where you can live, some parts where you have machinery, a garden, you know. So it's quite big, yes. And also have an entertainment part. It's not. I don't know how to say this. So the thing is, my world, because of the Astors, can be somehow a bit less. You know, I wanted to make a world that is not thinking about science as it is. You know, because now science fiction is a lot about, oh, this is possible, this is impossible. You know, I wanted to think, how could I create a world that is a type of science that is so advanced compared to today that it feels almost magical. It's like there are things that you cannot explain how it works. But again, this is the future. It's not supposed to be understandable by us, you know? And as well, it's a book for the 21st century, so it still needs to be a bit understandable. So the arrival of the Astors allow me, with what I call the Astorials, or Astorian modified physics, to change the texture, the nature of reality itself. To allow things that are considered nowadays as impossible. And that's what is science fantasy. There is a say on science fantasy that I find like very interesting, which is science fiction makes possible. Science fiction makes possible the improbable. Science fantasy makes probable the impossible. And what is impossible and what becomes probable, it's the arrival of the Astors that change everything. In many ways. That's how my space can be magic in a way. And you know, magic, how it works? Magic is something that it works, and if you explain it, it dies. Science becomes magic if you try to explain it. And that's why I leave some space in my world for you to think about why it's like this. It must be unexplained. It must be mysterious. It must be deep, with layers, with questions, because that's how it feels magic, you know? But here, it's not magic like a spell. It's just that the world become, once again, because of the Astors, mythological. It feels hard to understand. You don't understand it anymore. And that's why it feels magic. Because it feels as if the world became mysterious again. And that's what lacks a lot in a lot of current work, I think. So in a way, in my world, science became magic. Because it was modified. And people try to actually analyze things again. But now science is not objective anymore because from the position of the scientists are never fully objective. But now the world itself has a mind. So imagine that the galaxy has some sense of humor. Well, maybe there are some things that changed the data just for fun. So it can make people, a researcher mad. And that's why there is the subjective analysis of nature, which are what I call the numerics. So numerics. I'm reading this again. The gathering of knowledge trying to understand the subjective nature of the spiral. Numerists look at it, it looks back at them. Yes, I want this for now. Yes, maybe one day I will propose my view, but yeah. And so it's like what came after science. And there is still traditional science that exists, and it's called spinometrics. And the spinometrics, I can read it to you as well. The study of the objective nature of the spiral. Hard to do in a galaxy with opinions. Yeah, exactly, yes. The people, I allow people to think about what is and how it looks like, you know? So, Astorian modified physics was the name of the transformed physics of the spiral, altered by the stranding and presence of the Astors, whereas numerics was the new incarnation of the subjective science. Sorry. There was as well spinometrics for objective science, but it had somehow and somewhat fallen to disarray as the spiral itself was having fun, trying to mess up with the nature of physics constantly, traumatizing the naive spinomists that will try to understand it. The touristic route was all very pedagogic, with a constant stream of content all over the path where tourists wandered, transforming the station into an educational experience, offering views of the Jaravos system's planets and Bohr's moon, Perseer. Displays were everywhere, even in the cafeteria, showing the planet patterns, atmosphere, main geographical features, and a study on the new phenomena. New meaning unusual in this case. After all, it was the discovery of what happened to Perseer that made the topaz of Bohr the star of the show in this solar system. There was much to say about Bohr, its mother planet, and the incredible work being done on Segovia Station to understand why the star was born. Yes, actually, it's unclear if before the Astors it didn't have already won. But maybe people on Earth was just not advanced enough to know it. Yet, even in the Aurimian, Monet... Okay, so, sorry. There was much to say about Bohr, its mother planets. So the planets that was where Perseer was gravitating around. And the incredible work being done on Segovia Station that gravitated around Perseer, the moon itself. To understand why the star was born and how the Astorias were affecting the surrounding physics. Yet even in the Aurimian, Monet wasn't infinite. It wasn't that creating a post-scarcity society was impossible. In some ways, the Aurimian was one, but a level of artificial scarcity, so scarcity means the fact that you lack something, but a level of artificial scarcity had to be maintained to encourage creativity and exchange. It was a sort of softened capitalism. This wasn't the only model in the galaxy after all. The spiral was vast and diverse enough to tolerate exchanges with different systems. Still, it wasn't a bad model. If an urgent need threatened a society's integrity or its suffering came from a lack of resources, provisions were made. Occasionally, people will talk about returning to free markets, but historians would always remind them that markets were never truly free. They were manipulated behind the scenes. Over time, the idea of free markets became something not taken very seriously in the spiral. Thinking of this, Marco took some Ormins, O-R-M-I-N-S, the Aurimian's currency, from his pocket to buy the latest design of the day made by the kids visiting the station. Today's winning drawing was of Perseer, represented as a simple character with a very small body and a huge smiling head, armed stretched out as if preparing to fly. It was cute. Marco paid the attendant of the stand near the cafeteria entrance and, touching the design on his table, transferred it directly to Perseer. Then he entered and almost bumped into Berta. He was about to talk to her and exchange a few banalities, but she barely looked at him, rushing past, waving through the crowds of officials. The only thing Marco caught was her muttering, "Out of my way or I'm going to kill someone." He watched as she marched towards a section of the huge cafeteria where the air, space, and even light seemed different. There was no physical barrier, but the texture of the atmosphere itself hinted a separation. The cafeteria was lavish, with bronze and gold tones and blue tiles, reflecting the station design. Though crowded with tourists, the numerific station maintained high standards. After all, numerics were an exciting prospect for all Aurimians in the spiral. Its ideas and venture constantly evolving, supported by their best facility and admired by mostly everyone for their innovation. Marco sighed, thinking, what a strange time to be alive. as he followed Berta with a knowing half-smile. He wasn't surprised by her frustration, but it did worry him. She was heading straight for the secluded section, and Marco knew exactly what would happen. Berta stopped, frozen, and took a deep breath. As she crossed into the space where sound became muted, the texture of air calming. Her shoulder relaxed visibly, and Marco watched her with a mix of pity and affection. No wonder she's so stressed, he thought. She seemed to be very sensitive to the tourist's presence. Although it seemed to be getting worse lately. And coffee didn't help much anymore. Berta tended to reach an extra level of crankiness when the black liquid was not of the best quality. And it was, Marco had to admit it, a black slosh lately. All of this because Planet and Jewel know complicated things beyond reason for coffee importation from Sargara. But now Marco seemed to like the infamous beverage, and she could bite the head of anyone that would deprive her of it. Marco saw it before. When bad coffee became acceptable for her, that's when things got really dangerous. Touching the pouch that held Ereban's fresh supply of coffee, Marco felt reassured. This will soon be resolved. He made his way to her, passing through the same invisible divide that silenced the noise of the tourist-filled cafeteria. Hey, Berta! What's up? You okay? Marco asked nonchalantly. Berta, not buying his calm tone, shot back. I want to kill them all. Who? Marco asked, playing along. Who do you think? Berta threw her arm in the air. Tourists! What? I thought you loved Singovia Station. I did love Singovia Station, she said, exasperated. But then she struggled to find a word venomous enough for anger. This Juno? That woman made it her mission to flood the station with her people. We could have managed a limited number of visitors, but no, how strange! I wasn't even consulted! Marco, still smiling, replied. It's good for the kids, though. They're learning about numerics. I know, Berta sighed, but that's the worst part. She knew I couldn't say anything against it. Believe me, Marco, you know he's the devil incarnate. Marco laughed awkwardly. Isn't that a bit dramatic? Is it? Berta snapped, glaring at him. Okay. Not saying anything, Marco said, holding up his hand in peace. You're right, as usual. Berta grunted, then sat down at the table without another word. Anyway, Marco continued, trying to change the subject. I have something you might be interested in? Berta, turning to look at him over her chair, started to say, Frankly, Marco, I am not in the mood for... She stopped mid-sentence, her eyes widening.
What is this?
She whispered, as if hypnotized by the discovery of a golden and magical artifact. Panakavor's best blend, Marco said with a grin. The hunger was over. Interlude. ... A quiet, dimly lit room. A console screen flickers softly, waiting. The air feels still, as if the world itself is holding its breath. A transmission arrives. A single line of text pulses on the screen. SE. Be ready. A pause. A figure leans forward slightly, eyes narrowing. Fingers move across the interface, entering a response. VVV voice. Acknowledge. Another pause. Then the reply comes. SE. Is the sympathizer. A quiet chuckle. Dry and self-assured. VV voice. The sympathizer still thinks. The words dream with superiority, unknowing amusement. A few seconds of silence. Then the screen pulses again. SE. With the scheduled adjustment. Our friend will not be able to resist. A small nod. A faint smirk in the dim light. VVV voice. I agree. A final message. SE. Meet them at the rendezvous point. VVV voice. Acknowledged. The transmission ends. The figure leans back, exhaling slowly. The screen fades to black. Okay, how do you feel? Do you still want me to keep going? Are you tired? So you want me to keep going? I know exactly when I would stop reading, so... Yeah. I know exactly when I stop reading, and I'm not going to read until that point yet. But I know exactly what event I'm going to stop and not read further. So we are chapter 7, and I'm not going to do this today. But I'm going to basically read... all part 1 that goes until the 23rd chapter. But not today, of course. Now I'm just going to read a few chapters more and then stop. Cool. Okay, let's do it then. Chapter 7. Foam. Beta was aghast.
Really?
She extended her trembling hands toward the coffee bag, as though expecting her finger to pass through it.
After so long, with that misery of coffee, I need one now.
And I'll join you, Mako replied. They went to the resting area and prepared 2 cups. Mako also bought some Crocorox, the latest trend in the spiral. These were the result of intense research involving Astorials. New knowledge and discovery had made it possible for Krias and other organisms to ingest and savor crystallized structure like rocks. It had been a long effort led by a group of Inteas, demons, faces, and even some OOTs. Faces are... a face is a synth that want to integrate to the organic society, the Kriya society. So it's still synthetic, but it acts as a neutral or a demon and so on. So like Marco, for example. And even some OOTs to develop Crocorox. The result? A very wealthy conglomerate that had made a lot of people happy with a complete new range of flavors never tasted before. It was an indubitable hit. It would be impossible to describe the sensation of eating a piece of obsidian or savoring the soft spike of quartz. Yet at the time of this tale, such indulgences had become common. Mako got 2 crocker rocks for himself and 2 for Bertas. They sat in silence once again. Let's see a crocker rock in the glossary. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. There is humor in my book. Crocker rock. Crocker rock. Food. Crocker rock. Did you get your agates for only 8 ormins, the 5 units? What are you waiting for? That's a bargain. Crocker rock. And I'm not making it up. I mean, I'm the author, so I'm making it up. But it's actually written like this. Let's see if I can show you. I don't know if it's easy to see or not. Let me see. Oh yeah. Okay. Sorry. It's really hard to pinpoint. No, I can't show you too much. It's fine. But basically, it's written like the. I'm getting invested. Yeah. Well, that's the point. But you have the book, so whenever you're finished. So you said something interesting. You said, "Look at me, thinking that this is what the actual future is going to be." I can't reveal you something in the book, but yes, it's. I mean, you need to read the book because it is suggested that, in a way, yes, it's suggested in the way in the book that the fact that people read the book is a way to trigger this book to become the future. But I cannot tell you too much about it because otherwise it's a spoiler. From Mako's perspective, it was always impressive to see the change in Berta's demeanor. Her body language, and the way she seemed to radiate peace after her first sip of good coffee. Well, the vampire finally gets her blood, he joked. I would normally punish you for that with a lecture, Berta replied, lightning flashing in her tired eyes. But I know you'll just vanish before you can hear the end of it, right? Mako chuckled awkwardly. Yet, with such a good coffee, she sighed. I don't even remember when I last had a taste of Panakavor's mutative blend. So many flavors. Have you ever been there, Marco? No, but I love to. I've heard it's quite the, changing experience. Well, that's one way to put it. It's hard to stay the same there, Beta said, sipping her coffee. In every sense of the word, people should know what they are dealing with. It's not the planet's fault, you know. It didn't ask for any of it. Demons really modified the heck out of it, Mako replied. But weren't the Astors the first to do so with the rest of the spiral? Yeah, of course. But who knows what things would be like otherwise. I am a result of these changes, you know, Beta said, looking at herself. So am I, Mako replied. Beta looked at him up and down. You look like a monster in old Terranity days. Terranity. Terranity. Homo sapiens. One planet. What could go wrong? It's a time period. So the time when Homo sapiens was having only one planet. You're like a monster in old Terranity day. Marco laughed. Yeah, probably. Some supernatural being or something. Berta shook her head, unimpressed. I'm happy to have been born in our time. Terranity was so limited. Can you imagine? One planet? A bit harsh, don't you think? Mako asked, raising an eyebrow. I thought you loved her, Earth. Oh, I do, Vecta exclaimed. I love Earth as an integrated part of the Aurimian. But Earth and nothing else? No, thank you, feels claustrophobic. Yeah, I guess, Makoto nodded. But Terrans, well, they didn't know any better at the time, I guess. They didn't know any better, Beta repeated softly, nodding, her mood shifting as she stared at her coffee. Silence fell between them. Mako hesitated, sensing her unease. Beta, you seem exceptionally struggling lately. Is something else wrong? You can tell me, you know, he said gently. Beta sighed, looking down for a while at the table. Well, some would say it's nothing. She sipped her coffee and frowned. But I feel like something's off. Mako leaned in. What do you mean? Beta squirmed in her chair, searching for the right words. It's hard to describe. I feel like something is not what it used to. It all started with the news of people disappearing. You remember a while ago? Mako nodded. Well, you remember it stopped for some time, and then a few months ago it happened again, and then again, and it stopped. But, answered Mako, it's very sad, of course, but pirates are a thing, you know. Even the Astors cannot erase crimes. And well, all humans are not collaborating as much as we would hope. You, as a diplomat, know it better than anyone. So what gives? Why this land feels so different for you? Asked Mako, worried. Everything you say is true. Yet I feel like something strange is going on and I can't put my finger on it. It's like I got cranky one day and never came back to my normal self. And don't look at me like that, eh, Mako? I mean crankier than usual. Mako stayed quiet, nodding sympathetically without daring to open his mouth to comment. They make me crazy, Mako. I swear they drive me mad. She continued, her voice growing more intense. Tourists! Yeah, I know. You've told me that, Mako replied, watching her closely. Berta nodded, lost in thought. But the more I think about it, the more it feels like there's something... Her voice trailed off. Something? Mako asked, suddenly worried. Beta was silent for a long moment, her gaze lost in some inner thoughts. Then she mumbled something under her breath. Mako looked at her, worrying even more. Anyway, said Beta, and she poured more coffee in Marco's cup before drinking her own. Beta raised the cup to her lips, pausing for a moment as the faint scent of roasted beans mixed with the damp, metallic air of the station. She stared down into the liquid, noticing how the foam floated on top, delicate and cloud-like. The surface was dark, but then foam was a pale beige, slowly spiraling inwards, swirling gently in circles, never quite settling. The foam created soft curling arms that twisted and stretched, flowing toward the center in a silent dance. Tiny bubbles formed along the edges, then drifted aimlessly, rising up one by one. They hovered on the surface for a second, then disappeared, leaving faint ripples behind. It was almost hypnotic the way they emerged, each one small, almost insignificant, yet catching her eyes as they briefly disrupted the calm of the liquid. The foam thickened, pulling inward, following the same slow, spiraling motion. It wasn't rushed, but steady, as though it had always been spinning this way, caught in its own quiet rhythm. Now and then, a large bubble would form, rising to the surface like a soft pulse. This took longer to pop, as though resisting the inevitable before slipping beneath the foam once more. And yet, as she watched, a few bubbles started to rise more quickly, as though stirred by something unseen. The calm ascent, now faster, more erratic. She didn't blink. The foam's circular movement seemed endless, its pale arms curling back into themselves. One bubble after another rose and burst, sending delicate wave through the surface, each ripple lost in the steady, ongoing spiral. Da! Eta! Beta! Mako's voice pulled her away. The cup tilted slightly in her hand, and she blinked, lifting her gaze from the quiet storm in her cup. What? She said, blinking. Are you alright? Mako's voice asked, his tone concerned, though his face was half hidden by an holographic screen showing a countdown and the moon Persea popping up between them. What? She muttered, straightening up. Yeah, I'm fine. It's nothing. She glanced down at the cup again. The foam continued to spin. I'm fine, waved it off dismissively, putting on a facade. Don't mind me. You don't survive as a diplomat without getting a bit paranoid. It's probably nothing, she said, laughing awkwardly, as she herself didn't believe her own words. The show begins. Chapter 8. Okay, so let me tell you. Okay, did I make a mistake here? Chapter 8? Oh, no, okay. Okay, chapter 8, 9, and 10 are going to be the last one. They are quite short, okay? I'm not going to tell you. The show begins. People were gathering. So, Sudi is asking, is she okay? Well, the show begins. People were gathering around the windows. A timer on the wall began to count down as the sun and the moon, Persea, were about to align in a particular way, triggering the incredible phenomenon that came with its now Astorian nature. If one looked at Persea in normal conditions, they would see a moon, electric yellow and rugged, as if almost painted, its intensity unmistakable. It was not that dull yellow found on other celestial bodies. Persea was vivid, a wide landscape of towering mountains stretching across its surface. These mountains, highest in the Bow system, were flanked by swirling clouds that seemed restless, never content to stay still. They moved, wrapping themselves around the summit like mist caught in a stream. Yet on this day, twilight was near. Peresea's colors shifted, with the moon now glowing in warm tones of yellow and orange, while the clouds continued to hold their strange blue and green luminescence, as if lit from within by something that had no business being there, yet there it was. No. You say, like, I feel like she's remembering a past trauma or something. I would tell you she's more like feeling something in the air. The station had got silent. Everyone was at the windows waiting for the moment. Some tried to capture the scene with augmented eyes, gathering data from virtual cameras placed all around the moon, their eyelids flickering as if they processed every angle. Others merely admire the subtle shifts, trying to imprint the mesmerizing moon in their minds. Around them, pelicans mingled, one or two demons keeping to themselves. In the Jarabo systems, Kreas were the dominant population, but they didn't care much for Perseus. For them, the moon was a tiny, distant dot with beautiful shifting light they'd seen so many times through visits or hyper-realistic projections that it hardly stirred their interest anymore. Even the most spectacular marvel, when seen too often, fades into the background. Such was the nature of the human mind, be it flesh or metal. And then it happened. The light hit the surface at a particular angle, without any grand announcement save for the counter on the wall. The pieces of land touched by one of the last rays of Jaravos, the sun, went completely transparent, except for a shifting yellow hue mirroring the inner turmoil of the moon. Perseus transformed into the rugged topaz of Bor, as it was called, after its mother planet. Even if the moon itself wasn't the only celestial body undergoing such a change, is becoming transparent due to the spiral's Astorials or Astorian modified physics, it was, without a doubt, one of the best examples. Bor stood in the middle of newly colonized space within the spiral, far from the Orion Spur and the Earth, and far from the overlap where all the main population of the spiral was gathering, making Perseus one of its major attractions. And yet, the planet had nothing to be shy about, and was, after all, the favorite of Astor Ereban. Bor, its dark towers, where giant blue, red, yellow, and green crystals shone in the eternal spring's nights. The city and the countryside has one, with forests and meadows seemingly left places to sparse skyscrapers in the middle of canyons of a forest, or where residential and commercial neighborhoods shone in the tame nature of the planets, a promise of yellow welcoming light in the middle of fields. People talking into small groups in the middle of the ever-dark nature of Bor about science, politics, and arts. Bor was the dark watchtower of the spiral, a tower of dreams and springs without end, watchful in the night, protecting the spiral as a mother caressing her child's heir that was sleeping and content. And in the night sky, the topaz of Bor, Perseus, that night was shining. Even amidst the transformation, the moon's moving parts could be observed. You could identify red, white, yellow, and even pink magma flows branching in different directions underneath the surface. Lumps and chambers of the blazing hot blood of the moon extending from its heart, adding to the vibrant display, with the core itself shining brighter than the small and distant dwarf star Jaravos. The phenomenon would continue for some time, even after the light faded. Though not fully understood, it captivated both numerists and tourists alike. There were even instances of previous visitors deciding to stay on Singovia Station to study the mysterious event. Plans were already in motion to establish a school for Persean studies, with many applicants already registered. Beta looked around, wishing she could feel, still amazed by the process. But, for some reasons, her mind wasn't in it today. She gently touched Marco's shoulder while he watched the spectacle with a small smile. I think I'm going to go, she said. I need to get back to my room to think. Marco gave her a concerned smile. Beta, are you sure that... Yes. Don't worry about that. Enjoy the show. Chapter 9. A gnawing feeling. With that, she put her chair back and left the cafeteria. She decided to take the long route back to her flat. In various sections of the station, many windows were crowded. No, invaded, she would say, by tourists. Eventually, she wandered into empty corridors and laboratories, where samples of rocks taken from Pericea shone under different lights, part of ongoing research. These rocks sparked numerous questions. Why did they turn transparent under certain conditions? What properties did they hold? How could they be applied to technology? And surprisingly, what benefits might they offer primals, the unenhanced intus? This part intrigued many, particularly the Felican Society, the leading power amongst enhanced intus or inteas. Her mind was going in loops. Something was not right, and somehow she failed. Okay, this is the last one. If you can hold, you are going to reach an interesting point, and then I leave you to it. Okay. There is one thing that I would like you to witness. She tried to stop it, to shut it down, but the call was too strong. And again, it wasn't from some sense of self-righteousness or rebellion about how she should act. It was a voice inside her that said, "You shouldn't shut me down. What I'm telling you is necessary. You have to listen to me because you and everyone around you are in danger." That was it. She saw suddenly stopping in the middle of her street. The thought gripped her, and her pace quickened as she made her way to her room. There was a danger. But a danger of what? She paused. Opening the door, she set the bag of coffee aside, automatically moving towards the coffee maker. As she picked up the bag, she stared at it for a long moment and asked, "What are you trying to tell me?" But the bag looked back at her silently, as any bag would. She grunted in frustration, trying several times to make a cup of coffee, but her hand refused to cooperate. It was very unusual, completely uncharacteristic of her to reject coffee. She paced around, unable to sit still, then decided to go to the terrace. She stepped outside into space. A commentary on the resilience of the organic bodies in the Orimian. If someone from another time quite far in the past saw the scene, alarm bells will ring. Why a terrace in space? What about pressure? What about breathing? What about Boata's bodies? Was this the danger she felt? The answer was no. Her body, thanks to augmentation, very common in the Orimian, was impervious to the danger of space. So space became another garden. She softly spoke a name. Mijai, she said to no one in particular. A moment later, a cat-like being appeared. Mijai appeared as an hologram, a Felis from the Felican Society. Her ages slightly blurry. Okay, Sully, pay attention. This moment is important. And then it's over. And then I will stop. You still here? Yes, no? Am I going to have to finish by myself? It's fine. But just it's so close. Okay, so I'm going to finish fast. Moments later, Mijai appeared as an hologram, her ages slightly blurry.
Hey, Beta,
Said Mijai, stepping closer.
what's up?
Hey, Mijai. Newcomer was a Felican, more specifically Felis. You're going to like this. How's your research on the pyramids going?
We're still uncovering new information from Terran times. It's fascinating, I guess.
Oh, I guess, replied Berta, more out of politeness than genuine interest.
Have you destroyed the station yet?
Mijai asked with a smirk. No, not yet, Berta replied, glancing upward as if waiting the option.
I can't deal with these tourists anymore, you know?
Yeah, it's going to finish soon. You're going to see.
Yeah, I know. You tell me that every time we talk,
Mija said with a knowing smile. Yeah, sure, Berta muttered, clearly annoyed. Mijai, familiar with Berta's mood, waited a moment before asking, "Is everything alright?" "I was with Marco, you know, in the cafeteria." "Oh, your student, right?" "Not really my student, more like I teach him." "Sounds like a student to me," said Berta, grinning. "He's not studying diplomacy, he's studying interhuman dynamics." "And you know a lot about that, don't you?" "I do. Be careful to not pass your cynicism." "It's not cynicism, it's realism." "Yeah, sure, Mija said, shaking her head. The silence stretched between them. Mika, now more serious, looking at Alfred and asked, "Berta, are you sure you're alright?" Berta hesitated. "I don't know. Or maybe I know that I don't feel right." "Is this about—" "No, it's not about the tourists. It has nothing to do with them," Berta paused. "I was actually fine at the beginning when they came, but now I'm just so annoyed and frustrated, like trying to scratch an itch that never goes away." "And what is it?" I can't find in... Am I losing my touch?" Berta asked the voice. "Did you talk to Spalia about it?" "A character that you don't know yet." "Yes. What did she say?" "Well, she made a joke." "Yeah, sounds like Spalia." Mija looked around. "Nice terrace you have got here." "Listen, Mijai." "Okay, be ready." "Listen, Mijai. I called you and I don't even know why, but... be careful." "What?" Mijai frowned, suddenly concerned. "Careful of what?" "I don't know," Berta admitted, her voice lower. "I just have this sense that something is in motion, something is coming, and it's going to affect me, you, and everyone around us." "Come on, Berta, how could you possibly..." I don't know. But tell me this. Have I ever had a wrong intuition before?" Mija stayed silent. Her failing eyes unblinking held Berta's gaze for a long moment. Then she frowned. "What do you want me to do?" "Prepare," Berta said. "Spalia, despite all her jokes, is already getting the ship ready, keeping your eyes open and..." Berta felt it before she heard it. A change in the air texture. A shivering. What is... Suddenly a tremor rippled through the station. Voices, far off, started shouting, "Berta? Berta! Can you hear me? Are you..." Mika's voice cut out as the transmission went dead. Another tremor. Then the lights went out. That's it. That's it for today. I hope you liked it. I really hope you liked it. Nope. I will be for the next stream. Not going to tell ya. You won't have the answer on the next chapter because it switched to another part of the crew. You know, so we have like 2 members of the crew that are Berta and Marco, and we have like you have like 3 others. Okay, so if you want to know, I stopped as at the. So if you want to read the rest of the book, I stopped at chapter 9. And the next chapter is chapter 10. Okay, so, well, the communication stopped, and no one knows why for now. No one knows why. Well, thank you for coming. Thank you for listening to me and so on. I think this video I will have to cut it in chunks. I'm going to make to put some I'm going to put like this video on display. Not my Berta. Not my Berta. Yeah, I really love Berta. That's a great character. But you're going to see that the others are likable as well. That's the thing. Berta, Marco, they are 2 of the 5 humans. Three that you don't know yet. Not my Berta. Well, yeah, for now I need it to become more. There is some romance. There is. With one character that you already know about. And another that you don't know. But there is definitely some romance. There is a romance that I set. Yes. There was this romance that I set, and actually in the first version I tuned it down, and I decided to go for it. I thought it was like some how can I say this? I want to be a bit more like that they was trying to connect, but like, well, the situation is dire, you know. I mean, there is a conflict, of course, in this book, and one of the characters said, like, you know what, we have to wait because it's just not right now, and so on. And after revising the book and going through it again, I decided to change it, and it becomes one thing that actually has a much stronger presence now. So yes, it's a thing. Prepare to tear up, to have some tears. Not I mean, I can't tell you, but there is part of this book that I wanted to feel like a feel-good movie, so there is not like something very traumatizing and so on, to the point of I can't say too much, but it's a nice story. I think it's a nice story. How I made this. But yes, Berta and Marco are the main cast, a part of the main cast. That Ereban, of course, is around a lot, as it's like hard to avoid. And then you're going to know Athania, and Athania a little bit less compared to Iapetus and Ereban. They are much more present in this book, but the Astors are very present as well. Yeah, I'm still going to read. I'm not going to read the full book because, again, I want it to be selling. You know, if I give everything, well. But I think I can like read until the 23rd or something, or 24th, and I'm going to leave like the other 100 chapters to the reader, you know. I'm going to cut this video. I'm going to promote this video, but I'm going to cut it as well to make like chapter by chapter as well. Okay, thank you for coming, and sleep tight. I know You stayed a long time, so thank you, Suri, for being here. And people, or other people that are going to come here and see the streams, I hope you like it. I hope that you will come and for the next streams. If not, that's okay. This is something that's going to be part of my life for a very, very long time. So it's made to grow. It's fine that things start small. And yes, Suri, you told me about an audiobook. I will do an audiobook at some point. Or told by me or by someone else. I have no idea. For now, I'm still interested in translation. I'm interested in Spanish as well, and in French. But yes, definitely. Well, all right, we are past the 3 hours mark here. I think it's enough. And well, thank you for coming, people, for listening to watching the streams, and see you very soon. Suri, have a good night, and well, please be on the lookout for any new information about the Spiral book, its universe, and new videos and content linked to this universe. Thank you, and bye.